Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Tidwell, and we're hosting the Better Together Grants webinar today. And I'm going to give people just a couple more minutes to log in who are still doing so, and we'll get started in just a second. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on the Better Together grants offered by Bluegrass Community Foundation and the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative. I'm Kristen Tidwell, Bluegrass Community Foundation's Director of Grants and Scholarships. Also on the call with me today is Barbara Fisher, who is the Director of Nonprofit Services. I want to go over just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll share a link on our website after the webinar is over so that you can revisit the content if needed and to make it available to anyone who was unable to attend today's session. We also invite you to invite your comments and questions. I'll address all the questions at the end of the webinar. If you have a question, just type it out in the Q&A function. So, and I'll get to those at the end. Okay, so let's get started. During the first part of the presentation, we'll look at the goals of the grant program, the eligibility requirements, and the grant cycle schedule. Then I will go over the application process and accessing the BGCF application portal. Oops. So first of all, the mission of the Better Together grants is to fund innovative projects that advance racial equity in Fayette County and projects that specifically address themes and issues highlighted in Heather McGhee's book, The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. It's likely that many of you may have read Ms. McGhee's book and or attended the event last month, but I thought I would just go over a couple of main themes that she illustrates in The Sum of Us. First, she dispels an often held belief that if one group of society gains something, it's always at the cost of other members of the population. She illustrates that the zero-sum paradigm is especially prominent whenever people of color achieve milestones such as acquiring rights and earning benefits. She quite clearly and eloquently makes the point that many opportunities denied to persons of color harms white Americans too. For instance, she brings to light the example of hundreds of public schools that were permanent closing rather than allowing Black access during the early days of integration. Oh, I see that my screen is not showing. Let's just see. Sorry about that, guys. How are we now? Sorry about that, guys. Let me scooch back. So we're here now. Does that sound good? Hopefully. So going back to her tenant. So then, so she also dispels an often held belief that if one group of society gains something, it's always at the cost of other members of the population. She illustrates that the zero-sum paradigm is especially prominent whenever people of color achieve milestones such as acquiring rights and earning benefits. And she quite clearly and eloquently makes the point that many opportunities denied to persons of color harms white Americans too. For instance, she brings to light the example of hundreds of public pools permanently closing rather than allowing Black access during the early days of integration, a move that hurt all members of the community. Ms. McGhee also speaks of a concept she calls the solidarity dividend, which refers to the prosperity achieved when people come together across race, gender, religion, and other divides. One specific example of the solidarity dividend is the success of the ongoing fight for $15 movement. It began in 2012 when fast food workers, mostly people of color, walked off the job in New York City to demand a raise from the poverty level minimum wage of $7.25 an hour to $15 and a union. Within a year, the demand had spread nationwide. In 2014, Seattle became the first city to establish a $15 minimum wage. She explains that based on cross-racial organizing and led by workers of color, the movement has won a $15 minimum wage in states and cities across the country, and wage increase from giant employers like Walmart, McDonald's, and Amazon. If you were not able to attend the evening with Ms. McGhee last month, I highly recommend you get a copy of her book and or checking out her TED Talk online to learn more about her research and inspiring work. As I mentioned, the Black Prosperity Initiative is specifically seeking to fund grants that are inspired by the themes discussed in The Sum of Us and share one or more of the following goals: increase Black economic prosperity, close racial equity gaps, increase opportunities for natural area beautification and environmental stewardship in predominantly Black neighborhoods, bring people together across racial divides, promote racial healing, promote equity among all Lexingtonians regardless of race, create solidarity among all Lexingtonians across color, origin, and class. The total amount of the grant pool is $150,000. A total of 10 grants will be awarded. 6 grants of $5,000 for small scale projects with total project budgets of less than $10,000. 2 grants of $10,000 for mid-scale projects with total project budgets of less than $50,000. And 2 grants of $50,000 for large-scale projects with total budgets of more than $50,000. I should note that an applicant can submit up to 1 proposal for each grant tier. However, an applicant is only eligible to receive 1 grant from this opportunity. For these grants, preference will be shown to those applicant organizations or collaborations that are Black-led, as well as those who attended the Heather McGhee event on April 28th. So we'll next talk about the eligibility requirements for the grant. So the organization must be located in Fayette County and serve residents of Fayette County. Organization must be classified as a nonprofit charitable organization under Section 501c3 of the IRS code, or have a fiscal sponsor with 501c3 designation. Public institutions or entities that have a designated charitable purpose, such as a school or unit of government, are also eligible to apply. Applicant must be an equal opportunity employer that does not discriminate based on race, color, national origin, citizenship status, creed, religion, religious affiliation, age, sex, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, veteran status, or any other protected status under the law. And organizations with religious affiliations will be considered for funding only if the project for which they seek support attempts to address the needs of the wider community without regard to religious beliefs. Finally, an applicant organization, if a designated 501c3, must have a GuideStar seal of transparency that is gold at the gold level or higher. Please note, if the organization is a school or a unit of government, this requirement is waived. If an applicant is using a fiscal sponsor, then the fiscal sponsor organization must have the required seal of transparency. I'll now invite my colleague Barb Fisher to go over the GuideStar requirement in a little bit more detail.
Hello, I'm Barbara Fisher. Every 501c3 has a GuideStar profile. You can find yours at guidestar.org. And then it doesn't matter if you're a brand new organization, a small organization, if you do or don't have an audit, you are eligible to earn the gold seal of transparency. On the RFP, there is an embedded link, learn how to earn your seal. GuideStar will walk you through step by step how to do it. It's really very easy, and it only requires the information listed here. Your basic contact information, mission, very few things. It's not hard to fill out, but if you have any questions as you're working, you can give me a call and I'd be happy to help you. The first thing you do when you go to guidestar.org is you just find your organization on there. Sometimes it's better to search by your EIN rather than by your organization's name. If you have it just slightly different than the IRS does, you might be hard to find. But once you find your organization, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see something that says update my organization. You click on that, and then GuideStar will walk you through what you need to do to add the information that'll get you to the gold level. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Barb. Appreciate that.
Sure.
So I'll now talk about the grant cycle. The deadline to apply is June 15th. I think most of the materials say that it's by 5 p.m., but our system, I've made it default to 11:59 p.m. So you have a few extra hours in there. So by midnight, basically on June 15th. And notification will be on or around July 15th. And the grant period will be from August 1st of this year through July 31st of 2023. So now we've kind of gone over the guidelines for the grant, and I was just going to jump into a quick demonstration on accessing the Bluegrass Community Foundation's grant application portal and actually getting into the application. So we'll visit, when you're ready to apply, you would visit our website. And you can easily get to the application by clicking on the top corner that said, or top button in gray up there that says apply for grant. And then you'll scroll down, you'll see grants that are made available for Fayette County. In there, the Better Together grants kind of goes over the RFP and the eligibility requirements that I just went over. And this is where we'll put up a copy of this webinar when it's time. So you'll just click to apply. And this is going to take you to our application portal. And so for anyone who has applied for grants from the Bluegrass Community Foundation in the past, or at least before last month, basically, you probably used our old platform. We have migrated to a new platform, a whole new system. And so if your credentials will not work that you set up for our old system. So even if you have applied and received a grant through a competitive grant process using our grant application on the online grant application portal, it is going to be new and you will need to create a new account. So I'm going to start with that. And it's good to note that this is actually a multi-step process. So, or at least it has a few little categories we need to fill out. So you click on create new account, and I'll just do this real quickly. So we're going to fill in the organization's EIN number. And if you don't know your EIN number, or if you do not have an EIN number, say you're applying with a fiscal sponsor, just put in all zeros in that field, and that will accept it and be fine. So you're only needing to put in the things that have the asterisk. So if you don't want to put in the website or the organizational email, you don't have to, but you are required to put in a number and an address and city and state. I think I've got everything. And so that's the first part, is just the organization's information. So name of the organization, EIN, organizational address, etc. Then we're going to click to the next part, and this is the user. This is going to be the person who's actually responsible for writing the grant. So it might be a grant officer, it might be a development person, or it may actually be the executive director. It could be one and the same, but we want you to fill out your information. So we're going to make Mr. Fred Flintstone, or oh no, we'll put his first name in there. And he's going to be the development director. And we need to have his username. And we'll need his telephone number. And then we can copy the information if we want to use the same, the organizational address. We can just use that button and it'll fill that in from before. So it has the address from the organization. I think we've got everything with the asterisks. And then it's going to pop up with a question. Are you the executive director? Or are you the executive officer? And in this scenario that we just did, Mr. Flintstone is not. So we're going to put no. And then pops up another form that's saying additional executive officer information. So this is really asking for the executive director or CEO. And so not necessarily the person who's responsible for the grant, but just the person who's in charge at the organization. So we're going to make this Ms. Wilma Stone. And she is the executive director. And again, copy the organization's address, and we can move on to the next step. From here, you're just going to create a password. So it can be at least 6 characters long. It can contain capital, lowercase letters, numbers, or any of the following characters. So you can do that. I'm not going to actually create this account because I actually want to get in with a real organization so you can kind of see some what you can do. But you would at this point click on create an account. And so I'm going to cancel this account creation for the moment, and I'm going to pause my screen for just a second as I kind of log in from the back side. And there we go. So this is what you'll see once you have registered for the first time. When you initially register, you're going to land on the apply page, and this is going to show you all of the grants that we have available to apply for. So you'll see we have the Better Together grants, and we're also offering early childhood education and literacy grant that's open at the moment, but we're here to talk about the Better Together grants. So when you're ready to apply, if you want to just preview the application, you can just click on this and it'll take you to just a preview. You can't actually start filling it out from here, but you can get a look at what the questions are and what information you're going to need. But we'll go ahead and access the application and start trying to fill it out. So you'll just click apply. And again, this will have your organizational information at the top. And I'll just point out that one of the cool features that we have with this particular system is that it will copy over anything in your guide in certain fields that we have set up. You can actually copy your GuideStar information from your profile into the application. So you don't have to, kind of redo it or copy and paste. You can just bring it over. And so if there are these fields available, you can click on the copy GuideStar profile, and it will automatically come up and say, hey, we noticed that there are these 2 questions that you could use, you could choose to select and actually just copy the answer. So my mission statement is the same. I'm just going to bring that over, and my incorporation year. And while it's not a lot right now, we only have 2 fields. The company that we're working with, they're working out to make this a little bit more robust so we can use a lot more information, which is great. Hopefully it'll be really efficient way to gather, some of this general organizational information going forward. So when I click that, it automatically filled in the mission statement and the incorporation year. But I'm going to scooch back up. One of the first questions, or the first question, is the applicant category. So we just want to know, is your organization a tax-exempt 501c3 charitable organization? If so, you would click that button. Or if you're a school or a unit of government, you would click that button. Or if you're not a formed 501c3, but you're going to be applying with a fiscal sponsor, then you would click that. And there will be, if you were to do that, we're going to scooch down here, and there will be an extra form that you'll be responsible for filling out. And this would be the nonprofit or the 501c3 who is sponsoring your application. And so you would fill in all of that required information. And also that requires a a letter from the fiscal sponsor, just stating what the established relationship is with your organization. And then a brief mission statement from that fiscal sponsor. So that's how that works. If you happen to be something other than that, you don't fit in there, and we can try to help, see what kind of organizations you are. If you're not quite sure, you can click other, and then you'll have an opportunity at this in this box to give us an idea of the nature of your organization or collaboration, or what entity is trying to apply, and we will see if you would be eligible or find ways to make that possible. So you have that opportunity. So going back up, in this organization overview, we're just asking for mission statement, your year of incorporation, just a brief look at what your programs and services are. We just, it doesn't have to be fully extensive. It just is a brief overview of what you offer and either programs or services or projects, et cetera. Your annual operating budget, and we're looking at what was your most recently completed fiscal year actual expenses. That's what we're looking at for your operating budget. And then we'd like to see a organizational budget for the current fiscal year, and you can upload that there. We just want to know, did someone from your organization actually attend the event with Heather McGee on April 28th? So that's just a simple yes or no. So once you finish the organizational information, then we're looking for project information. And so you would fill in the project title and just a one sentence, real short explanation of your project. And then what specific issue are you addressing? And I would suggest you kind of go back to the themes we were discussing earlier from Heather McGee's presentation, because hopefully that's all going to tie in there. So clearly state the issue that you're addressing, and then provide a full description of the project for which you're requesting funding. And is this a new initiative, or is this an established ongoing part of our activities? That's where we'd want to know if it's new or not. And then give us a timeline. Is this something that's ongoing, or is it a project that you'd like to start in September? It's like going to go for the school year, or anyway, just give us an idea of when the proposed project would take place. And then what is the total project budget for this proposal? And then we need you to clearly state basically which grant tier you are requesting. So again, you can be considered for a grant of $5,000, but this would mean that your total project budget would not be greater than $10,000. Or mid-scale project could be a grant of $10,000, but your grant project could not be over $50,000. And then a large scale project would be in consideration for a grant of $50,000, and the project has to be over $50,000. So, and then we'd like to see a project upload, and you're welcome to put this in any format that works best for you. Whatever line items you have set out, be just fine, and you can upload that as an Excel spreadsheet. I think that's what it's that, or a Word document, I think, are accepted file types there. And then we'd like to know if there's anyone else you have sought funding for, and if those partners have already committed, or if they haven't, and how much. So, and then we're going to look at the project impact and outcomes. And so we'd like for you to describe the impact of the proposed project. Will the effort have a lasting impact on the community and be sustainable beyond the grant if you were granted the initial grant? The number who will benefit from this specific project, and then give us an idea of the population that's going to benefit as best you can. And then what are the specific goals of the project, and how will you know if you have been successful? It's however you are going to define success for this project. We'd like to just get an idea of those things in that box. Then this is a new addition we've added for all of our competitive grant making opportunities. We'd like to know about your commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so we have a few questions that are required for you to address DEIA values. We'd like to know how your board and staff reflect the community. And then we just have some questions that are specific related to your executive leadership. So your executive director, basically, your board membership, and the people you serve. And specifically, we're wanting to know, does the executive director of the organization publicly self-identify as Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander, or person of color? Yes, no. And sexual orientation, disability status. And then the same types of things we're looking at for board membership and individuals served. And if you obviously don't know these things, you can put unknown, but we're just trying to get a gauge of those demographics. And then we also offer up, if you are so moved, if you feel like that your idea or project would really lend itself to a video, we welcome that. It is certainly not required, but we give that to you as an option. So you're welcome to upload. You would need to upload an URL there. So a link to the video, no longer than 5 minutes, please. And so that kind of takes us through the entirety of the application. And if you can save the application, or if you hated it, you can abandon the request, but you don't have to. You can just save it and re-edit it. But so once you're finished, you can save or submit if you are ready to do that. Then we can go back to the dashboard. So this is kind of where once you have created your registration and you are now a user of the system and have already started one application, when you log in again, you will automatically land on the applicant dashboard. And so this will have kind of your history of your grant request. And you'll see that you have an active request, and the process is the Better Together grants. And it has not been submitted. It's still available for edit. So when you're ready to go back in, you worked on it some, you want to go back in and finish it up, you can go in and just edit application and you're back to it. And then once you have completely, once you have completed it, obviously you just click submit, and then it would show on your dashboard that it had been submitted. So that is the application process. So let me get back out of here. And I'll see, this would be the time if you have any questions. It looks like there's maybe one question in our Q&A box, and I'll see. Want to be sure we can apply if our organization is Black led, but the fiscal sponsor is not. Organization operates under the fiscal sponsor. Yeah, yes, absolutely. We want to know the information about the organization that is applying. The fiscal sponsor is just the information about, is that first section I included. So the information that's related to the organization's DEIA commitment, all that can be the organization who was actually producing the project. And so that is most definitely fine. Is there any other? That was only one question. Does anyone else have any questions you'd like to submit? If not, I am certainly available at any time for questions and be happy to talk with you. This is my information. It's on our website. It's everywhere. It's on the RFP. So certainly feel free to reach out if you have any any questions, but looks like it's a quiet group, so that's good. I hope maybe they got what they needed. So anyway, I guess we wrapped it up in a fair amount of time. Oh, maybe one more. Let's see. If the entity is a government entity, does it still need a fiscal sponsor? No. If it's a unit of government, you don't need a fiscal sponsor. You just click on that. We're on that first part of the application where you're describing what the organization type is. You would just click on government, and yeah, no fiscal sponsor needed for that. That was 2. I'll wait just another minute in case somebody has a burning question. If not, then I think that covers most of everything. Here's another one. Let's see. So does it does not have to be a 501c3 if a government, yes, that is correct. Yeah, it can be 501c3 charitable organization. It can be a unit of government. It can be a school, and it can be an organization that is a charitable organization or a group of maybe a collaborative thing that's using a fiscal sponsor that is a 501c3. So that kind of does that. Let me see. That might be it. But again, I'm certainly available. Barb, it will be available too if you need help with the transparency seal on GuideStar. And anyway, we look forward to working with you and excited about these grants. Thank you so much for spending your time to learning about this and your interest. Oh, okay, one more question. Let's see. When will the recording be available? Well, I'll try to do it fairly quickly. I don't know exactly. I have a colleague who will work on that, but we'll try to get that link up. There are actually 2 places on the website where this information lives. It's on that grants page. And then it's also on, if it's under the tab community engagement. And then if you go to that page, and there's another tab that says Better Together Grants. So we'll try to put it in both places. So if you end up one place or the other, you'll find it. So how do you prove whether you attended the Heather McGee event? We are going to take you at your word. And we are assuming everyone would be honest about that. And we do have an RSVP list. So, I mean, there's a possibility that we would check it, but we assume that people are going to be honest in their reporting on that question. So anything else? All right. Feel free to reach out to me directly and we'll be happy to help with anything else. Again, thank you so much for being here and for hopefully coming up with some great innovative ideas that will make an impact in our community. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.